Hi, I am Zajdela, and I'm a Ph.D. student in Applied Mathematics at Northwestern University and a National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellow. My curiosity since a very young girl has been a driving force in my desire to understand and study STEM subjects and their relationship to the world. I used to drive my family members crazy with my never-ending questions. How do the clouds form? What is making the rainbow appear? I read everything that I could get my hands on, and in particular, my favorite series of books was about a girl traveling around the world on a boat with her parents who were marine biologists. They conducted research on different types of marine life, especially dolphins and whales, and would stop in different points to exchange conclusions of their research with other scientists. When I was 5, I used to tell people that I would be a marine biologist or an oceanographer when I grew up. I also remembered any number I encountered, from parking spots to phone numbers, and every number would be an opportunity for a game. As a little girl, on long car trips, I used to amuse myself by playing games with the numbers on the digital clock in the car. I grew up in France where the clocks use 24-hour time. For example, 3 p.m. is 1500 hours. I had to take the numbers on the left and on the right, and using any mathematical operation, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, would have to find a way to equal the two sides. Sometimes it was impossible, which would be very frustrating, but years later I heard about prime numbers, and I understood why. I was a scout in France from when I was 7 years old till my high school years, when I was a scout leader and received the honor of first class, which is the highest honor awarded in the European Scout system. During the summer, we would go deep into the woods and set up camp for 2 to 3 weeks, living in nature, completely isolated from society. These isolated experiences and lack of technology drove my appreciation for technological advances and developed curiosity about nature, biology, and the lives of the animals that we saw. Oftentimes, the closest potable water source would be about a 45-minute walk away, and we had to fill large jugs of water and carry them back to the camp, which gave me a great appreciation for clean water being readily available when turning on a faucet, something which a lot of the world doesn't have access to. In many developing countries, in particular, the task of obtaining water falls upon women, who may have to walk for hours and carry it on their head. This experience made me think on how I can help in an effort of providing easily available, clean drinking water around the world. The issue of water scarcity and its relationship to conflict has been something that has been at the forefront of my mind ever since then. And in high school, I became very interested with the Middle East region and the ways in which water scarcity can intensify turmoil. I joined Model United Nations, an organization where young people debate about international relations issues as if they were a member of the United Nations. As an undergrad, I majored in mathematics and physics and minored in international relations. I graduated with distinction in all the subjects I studied and received awards for excellence in mathematics and physics. Although I love the theoretical aspects of STEM and the calm that comes with dealing with laws of physics and mathematical certainty, but with the growing problems in our world, I felt strongly that I must apply these skills to world needs. There are a lot of problems facing our world: poverty, climate change, water scarcity, and environmental degradation, just to name a few. All of these problems can be solved by STEM. STEM can prolong life, but STEM can cut life short. All the weapons of mass destruction could not exist without scientists and mathematicians. This is why scientists and mathematicians have the responsibility to use their knowledge for the betterment of humankind, for the preservation of the planet, and for creating a peaceful world. No region of the world has had more influence on the survival of planet Earth than the Middle East. The Middle East has a source of energy which fueled civilization for many years, and this is fossil fuel. But fossil fuel is not just an energy resource, it's an economical power, and it's the main cause to climate change and to wars, especially in the Middle East. This is why 3 years ago, I became assistant to the president of the Malta Conferences Foundation, a nonprofit organization that uses science as a bridge to peace in the Middle East. The instability in the Middle East is causing problems not only in this region, but around the world. Issues of water, environment, climate change don't know borders. They see the planet borderless, and solving the problems of water, environment, climate change requires cross-border collaboration, which can seem impossible in the Middle East. I joined the Malta Conferences Foundation, or MCF, which is the only platform in the world where scientists from 15 Middle East countries can meet face-to-face, despite the fact that many of their governments are hostile to one another. The Malta Conferences make it possible for them to meet with Nobel laureates, to develop collaborations, and form friendships that overcome the chasms of distrust and intolerance. I was able to attend the last Malta Conference, Malta 8, in December 2017, and I witnessed with my own eyes the excitement of the participants and those who were meeting again and called each other family to interact with each other, and they also interacted with the dignitaries who participated in the conference. For example, a member of the French Parliament, the President of the Republic of Malta, Minister of Education of the Republic of Malta, several ambassadors, representatives from the EU Commission, UNESCO, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, that received the Nobel Peace Prize, and from the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, that also received the Nobel Peace Prize. The Malta Conferences provide a forum where scientists from these 15 Middle East countries, whose governments are hostile to one another, can explore what unites them rather than what separates them. Provide a forum that requires cooperation among the partners to solve regional problems. Reduce the level of personal animosity and the tendency to demonize the unknown other. Catalyze enduring collaborations on water, energy, medicinal chemistry and natural products, nuclear and chemical security, entrepreneurship and innovation, education, and nanotechnology. The Middle East is rich in natural products that scientists are using to produce medication and cosmetics. In the workshop on medicinal chemistry and natural products, it was such an interesting experience for me to see scientists from Saudi Arabia bring their cosmetic samples that they'd produced from natural products and share them with the women in the conference. It was amazing to see an Israeli woman scientist letting a Saudi male chemist apply his product to her face. The Middle East is a region where women don't have equal rights, and to study STEM can be a challenge. With my influence, MCF concentrated in bringing under the umbrella more women and young women students in order to empower these women to support each other and encourage young girls to pursue STEM subjects. In many of these countries, a woman can't even travel alone. She has to be accompanied by a relative male. The rules of the Malta Conferences prohibit a participant to bring any accompanying members, because as scientists, all the participants know that if you dilute a solution, the interaction is much smaller. So the same concept applies to the Malta Conferences. In order not to dilute the interaction between the participants, we can't dilute the interaction of the scientists by including accompanying members. But despite this limitation, the number of women is growing exponentially in the Malta Conferences, and a women's group was formed in the last conference to support each other between the conferences through an electronic chat room and developing methods to encourage young girls to pursue careers in STEM. These scientists from the Middle East could not meet face-to-face in order to develop the collaborations without the help of MCF. And that got me thinking how we could use mathematical modeling to be a tool to study the success of the trust, collaborations, and friendships formed during the Malta Conferences and that continue between the conferences. Because the scientists who participate in the Malta Conferences mostly are professors or directors of research institutes, they influence a large number of students and colleagues, and that represents an enormous multiplier over the conferences alone. These mathematical tools are an excellent way to study what the most successful approach to these collaborations can be. And the mathematical models that I suggested received applause from the National Science Foundation, and as a result, they awarded me the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship. The comments I received from the reviewers of my proposal praised me for trying to tackle the Middle East and use mathematics to help bring peace and understanding to the region. In my research, I found out that the majority of the undergraduate students in universities, countries like Iran, Jordan, and Palestine, are actually women, but in the workplace, their percentage is nominal. That's why in the Malta Conferences, the women group felt that the unity among them should empower them to succeed also in the workplace, and to be able to recruit young women to join them. I felt really privileged and honored to be part of this group and contribute my ideas and experience working with the president of MCF in order to make this women's group successful. One of my goals is to measure with mathematical models how this experiment in a small scale can become a worldwide phenomenon. We have scientists and mathematicians who advise policymakers on many of the important issues that affect our world. Math has made many of the things that once seemed impossible, possible. Supporting the chemistry that has made life-saving drugs available, the engineering that allows us to fly in big metal boxes over the ocean, the technology at the basis of small devices, our telephones, that allow us to communicate face-to-face in real time with people around the world, the advent of the internet, just to name a few. But every day when we turn on the news, we still hear about conflict, see images of war and scenes of poverty. I feel strongly that mathematical modeling can help in solving these problems. Therefore, it's time that the world applies data-driven mathematical modeling to conflict resolution. Programs like the Malta Conferences that use science diplomacy are making a tremendous difference for the participants in the program. By studying the effects of this incredible science diplomacy initiative, We can provide politicians and policymakers with the mathematical solutions needed to solve the problems which cause conflicts and instability in the world. With support from the Scientista Foundation and Perricone MD, we can use the power of mathematics to help work towards a more peaceful and stable world.